Welcome back, everybody. Got a great show for you this evening, but I do want to start with something that actually a story that broke this morning out of Cubs camp. Basically, the quote from Dansby Swanson in a nutshell was that sports in Atlanta are, in his words, kind of a deal, whereas in Chicago, they're a huge deal. And this was coming from someone who has an entire clothing and apparel line called All Things Loyal, abbreviated ATL, because he's from Atlanta, specifically Marietta, which is close to where I'm from. Dansby Swanson is in no uncertain terms, a Braves guy through and through, born and raised, until the package the Braves offered him was not nearly what he thought he was worth. And the Braves didn't want to budge off of that because they assessed his valuation probably, I would say, more correctly than what his market turned out to be. Of course, the shortstop market this offseason was very significantly inflated. And of course, Swanson signed a 7-year, $177 million deal with the Chicago Cubs. That whole thing got Braves Twitter in just all up in arms this morning. I woke up, there's good old Dansby Swanson creating bulletin board material for the Braves in 2023. I don't know if that's the smartest idea to fire up an entire fan base that's already a little bit frustrated with how the end of 2022 went, at least, most sections of Braves country. Of course, being the defending world champs, you're a little more lenient the next season, but still, this was one of those things where I read that and I was like, wow, this is going to age really poorly when the Cubs come to Atlanta. That meeting is going to be very, very ugly for Dansby. He's not going to get the Freddie reception. He's not going to get the, the fan favorite kind of reception. I don't think he'll get parts of it, but I think the vast majority of his reception will be quite a lot of boos, especially if the Cubs are out of contention, and his whole thing was winning and whatnot. So I just wanted to start the show with that whole thing.
Dansby's situation needs to go right in order for the Cubs to have a successful season. I don't think is this light drama? Yeah, for sure light drama compared to some of the other things that we have experienced in the past few years. But it doesn't help. And I don't know what his intention was through doing this. We'll just have to see. And also, a slight segue, speaking of Central teams, we've already talked about how Brian Reynolds and the G-Man have already having trouble with the Pirates. The Pirates and the Orioles have a spring training game, and the umpires are like, yeah, we're good. We'll just take off. Now, given, going into this story, the game was over. The game was over in the top of the ninth. I believe it was the Pirates that won 7-4. And so when they closed out the O's in the top of the ninth. But since it's spring training, get the young guys some more reps in there. Play the last half of the inning. And I love that. I really appreciate that as a baseball fan. That means that their minds are on the game and that's in the right place. The umpires walking off, I thought that it was a really bad look. But at the same time, umpires have one of the worst jobs in baseball. If they don't get paid overtime and say they want to keep it going for a little bit and they don't get paid for that, I'm sure. I've got the graphic up here so I can explain off of the top what the 3 main rule changes are going to be this year. First one is a pitch clock in between pitches during the inning when the bases are empty. 15 seconds in between pitches when the bases are empty. 20 seconds when there are runners on. Second big ol' rule is the shift limits. So 2 players can only be on their respective side of the infield. For instance, the left side of the infield, third base and shortstop can only be on the left side of second base. Second base and first base have to be on the right side of the second base line, dividing the infield in half. If you cross that line, I don't know, you got to do a press campaign that is culturally insensitive.
What did he say?
I was not expecting that.
If you're not ready on the pitch clock, it's just a strike, but there's no play for a shift limit, so I think it has to be some sort of PR campaign that won't work very well. The standard base path up until this season was 15 inches squared, and now the bases will be 18 inches squared. The idea behind this is that There will be less collisions on plays at first or on the bag if the runner is standing up. Gives the opportunity for more stolen bases, more surface area to grab the bag on a close play, as it were, among many other things. The distance between the bases and home are reduced by 3 inches, and the distance between bases reduced by 4.5 inches. I love the pitch clock because I was really getting tired. A lot of the windups that you would see are progressively getting longer and longer, particularly relief pitchers were taking longer to get set. It's a part of baseball, but the kind of stuff that I enjoy is people like Mark Burley. Mark Burley was one of the greatest pitchers of, his time. Speed runner, was always very good at it. I'm looking at footage from way back in the day. They didn't mess around either. Bob Gibson didn't mess around. Koufax didn't mess around.
Yep.
Compared to that, I'm thinking that this is a reasonable change. It's a change that I like. I can understand the gripe from maybe pitchers and batters who need that extra time to get set, but at the same time, 15 seconds is a lot of time. I'm on board with the pitch clock.
Yeah.
I really enjoy it. I think this is probably my favorite rule change out of them.
I'm with you there. I'm a huge fan of it, not just because the pitch clock is something that can be enforced for both hitters and pitchers, but it's something that it gets you it's like in the NBA with a shot clock. If you see a clock ticking down and you have to shoot by that time, it makes the game a lot faster. And it's the effect. I saw just a 90-second clip. It was Robbie Ray's highlights today against the Cubs, and the Cubs score bug had the pitch clock on it. And it works like it does in basketball, where you see that number ticking down and you're kind of like, okay, throw the ball, like come set, throw the ball. It becomes much more urgent.
And I think that's where you're going to find out who is here for real and who's going to fall in the end.
You can imagine late August, early September, teams, 2-3 games back of a playoff spot, and they're playing a division rival or one of the better teams in baseball, or just a team that they have a lot of history with, and all of a sudden you don't have the time to necessarily think about the nuance of strategy. You as a hitter don't have time to stand in there and really go through the chess match of, what is this guy going to throw me? Like, what is his bread and butter? All that work has to be done much earlier in advance. So there's a lot more emphasis on the preparation that goes into hitting, pitching, fielding, base running at the highest level. And I think it speeds up the game to the point where we're going to see a huge difference between the teams that do their homework well in advance, the teams that prepare far better than everyone else, and the teams that kind of just rely on talent, instinct, and just natural ability. That's huge in determining who's the best, because it's like we talk about basically in life in general. Talent will only get you so far. If you don't have the tools and the preparation to go out there and perform in the most high pressure situations, then do you really deserve to be called the best? I would say no. And I think this is going to go a long way in distinguishing the good teams from the great teams from the elite teams. So I'm fired up just talking about it.